Good afternoon and welcome to Beyond the Forecast. We are starting with a live look at downtown Buffalo right now. You see, we are still holding on to those clouds right now at this noon 12:30 hour right now. We do still expect that sunshine to be breaking out eventually, but right now we are stuck in the clouds and those temperatures are quite a bit cooler than they were this time yesterday. Welcome to Beyond the Forecast. I am meteorologist Lauren Maroney. Patrick Hammer will be joining me in just a bit. You know, he's getting everything set up in the Hamburg Bureau to give you that live look in the weather elements. So while we're still waiting for Patrick, let's just get to your weather headlines. I'm going to hopefully give you a bit of an amuse-bouche to what will be his forecast. So like we saw with that live shot, we have those clouds right now. I do expect that we'll see that sunshine increasing. It's going to help burn up some of those clouds and we'll get a good amount of sunshine, especially by the time we get to the late afternoon and evening hours. That's going to be really nice. By the midweek, we are tracking the return of some rainfall, but not today, really not tomorrow. And honestly, Wednesday looks pretty good too. When I show you the 7-day, you'll see that we do have some shower icons on Wednesday, but I don't expect that to be a really big problem at all. And below average, this is kind of the buzzword of the week, if you will, because this entire month of June has been pretty much above average. We have seen one single day with below average temperatures, and that was the first of the month where we hit a high of 69 degrees. Today we are going to be cooler than that. And then the rest of this week, while we'll do better than we will be doing today, we are going to remain below average. So I kind of want to start with this 24-hour temperature change, not just looking at Buffalo or Western New York, but looking at the entirety of the Northeast. Yesterday, we were tracking that front that came through around the afternoon, around 2-3 p.m., really kind of tore its way through our area, tore its way specifically through Pennsylvania. I was tracking some tornado warnings yesterday in Pike County. No confirmations of anything touching down, but that just gives you an indication of how strong that front was. We had some severe thunderstorm warnings, again, all in Pennsylvania though. So that was a pretty strong front that came through, and it has cooled down our temperatures quite a bit for the entire Northeast. You see those shades of blue. But this is a live look at the radar and satellite right now. It is quiet for us in the Northeast, pretty much everyone in the Northeast. And you know what? I could continue to tell you the forecast, but you know who's a lot more fun to listen to? Patrick Hammer, live from the Hamburg Bureau. What's it out like there near you, Patrick?
First of all, I highly doubt that. You are plenty of fun to listen to. In fact, got all sorts of wonderful coverage from you, Lauren, yesterday as you were covering tornado warnings in northern Pennsylvania yesterday, so that was good. And I think maybe I was a little late to the scene because I'm in shock that following a summer day or a summer weekend, it's only in the 50s right now. I've got a fleece on and we're a week from the summer solstice. So anyway, nice to join you. Welcome to Hamburg, where yes, the skies are rather cloudy here. It's a little sunnier up towards Lake Ontario, but as Lauren said, I think we're going to break these clouds out pretty soon. And it should be a partly cloudy day, pretty nice looking day. I think, though, we got to quickly mention the impressive weather we had yesterday. A couple of tornado warnings in northern Pennsylvania and all sorts of heavy rain right here in western New York. So let's get to the forecast and then we'll touch on yesterday a bit too. First of all, yeah, rather cool today, that's for sure, under partly cloudy skies. Mostly sunny, weather is expected tomorrow, and then showers. 2 opportunities for showers this week. One on Wednesday early morning and then another on Thursday. Thursday's got Lauren and I's attention as it's a pretty impressive low pressure area is going to come through and spawn some rain and maybe some wind, like not typical summer-like wind, like spring fall type wind with a weather system moving through. More on that coming up. But for today, highs will generally be in the mid 60s, which is about 10 degrees below average. 54 tonight, and then for tomorrow, look for a mostly sunny to partly cloudy day. High temperatures should get back into the low 70s. Mind you, the average right now is 76. So even 71, 72 tomorrow is going to be below average, and that's where we're likely going to spend much of the next 7 days at least. Okay, this next map here, you see all those little dots? Those are storm reports from yesterday, okay? And clearly, there were numerous reports of severe weather across Pennsylvania in the form of some weather was damaging winds, some local flooding, and also some hail. But see the little red dots? Those are tornadoes or tornado reports. No confirmation yet of a tornado moving through, but we certainly had warnings for them yesterday. And whenever the radar indicated, we follow suit and pass on the tornado warnings to you and cover them as needed, as Lauren was doing yesterday. There was actually some rotation that moved through Jamestown yesterday, a very nasty looking storm. The rotation wasn't a certainty, so no tornado warning was issued with that, but we had some strong weather even in western New York. Okay, and rainfall totals, by the way, yesterday averaged between 1 and 2.5 inches. Here at the Hamburg Bureau, we had 2.36 inches of rain Sunday alone. A little bit of it came in the morning, most of it came in the afternoon and evening as the skies opened up, as we all know. There is the satellite shot that does show a blanket of clouds. This time of the year, it's better to use a visible satellite, which I should have done, but you get the idea that there are some low clouds hanging up over the hills especially, but you put it in motion and you can see that the clouds should begin to clear out a little bit. We won't be totally cloud-free though today, and the larger view shows, you know, generally if you watch the flow, it's kind of coming from Canada. That's a cooler direction. And there's a little spin of low pressure near Winnipeg, and that's going to spawn the showers here tomorrow night and into Wednesday morning. The jet stream pattern, though, is clearly favoring a cooler flow for western New York, all of the Great Lakes, and even towards the east, as a big ridge of high pressure along the west coast is bringing incredible heat to places like in Northern California. If you're familiar with Sacramento, Redding, Red Bluff, temperatures there could exceed 105 to 110 today. Anyway, we are going to be in this cooler weather pattern for a while. In fact, the temperatures are going to stay at or below normal all the way, as I said, through the weekend. Now, future look does show, again, today a partly cloudy sky as we put it in motion. And overnight tonight, mainly clear, but there could be some high clouds streaming in. As we go through time, you'll notice tomorrow, dry, but a couple of little showers are popping up, a sign that there could be an isolated shower in the hills tomorrow. Most of us, though, are going to stay dry. And then as we cycle through Wednesday morning, you'll see some showers working through in the morning, but passing off to the east pretty quickly. There could be a little thunder with that. That is something we're going to watch. So that is kind of how things look over the next 48 hours. High temperatures today, with that mix of cloud and sun, will be in the mid-60s, and a wind kind of westerly between 10 and 15 miles an hour. Then for tomorrow, high temperatures are going to be in the, I would say, around 70 to 73 under, I would say, mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies, and 75 in Dunkirk, 75 in Niagara Falls, and around 71 in Warsaw. And there we go. That's kind of the look at tomorrow. On the boat. So yeah, yesterday was not good for boating, and today it's a little choppy, maybe good for sailing. Water temperatures are in the 60s, but there is a westerly wind, 15 to 20 knots, so we could see some wind waves of about 2 to 5 feet in spots, especially on Lake Ontario. Humidity levels, as you can see, this graph looks far different than it did a week ago, with very comfortable humidity levels. They spike up a little bit on Thursday, only because that's when the rain's coming, and then they'll kind of settle back down. Speaking of Thursday, here is future look, peeking ahead towards the next system we're watching that will be more impressive. It's going to spread rain across the area Thursday, probably Wednesday night, Thursday morning, with some gusty winds too. There are signs we could have some 30 to 40 to 45 mile an hour winds out of this. and rain, especially Thursday morning. Staying breezy all day, but the rain may be tapering a bit in the afternoon. So the forecast for today, partly cloudy skies and cool with temperatures in the mid-60s. For tonight, clear skies 54, and then for tomorrow, mostly sunny 71. And the long-range forecast does call for that rain chance on Thursday, maybe a shower left over on Friday, Juneteenth, and then dry weather for Saturday and Father's Day with temperatures close to 70 degrees. Hey, Lauren, I don't know if you can hear me. You used the most interesting word to describe a summary of maybe what I was going to talk about. What did you say? A foun la bouche? What was that word you used?
Oh, I said amuse-bouche.
I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Amuse-bouche, that's the, okay, okay, I haven't heard that word in forever, but I love it, and I love that you used it. And quickly, what the meaning of that is?
Just like a little, kind of like a little appetizer, just something to like get you primed for what the big meal is, because the meal was your forecast, Patrick.
Some fancy restaurants do call appetizers the foos-bouche. I do remember that. Very good. All right, Lauren's going to come up and talk about the weather and how it affects your mood. Details on that coming up. All right, welcome back, everyone, here in Hamburg. So I asked Lauren earlier today, hey, what are you going to be discussing on the weather show? And she's going to say, well, how weather affects your mood. So I'm like, oh, you mean like seasonal affect disorder? She's like, oh, no, nay. It goes way beyond that. So I am intrigued to learn about how the weather can affect your mood. Hey, Lauren.
Hey, Patrick. Yeah, so I didn't quite want to talk about seasonal affective disorder because I know that can be very different for different people. I'm taking more of broad brush strokes and how different types of weather can actually affect our hormones, which then do impact our mood. So right now, I'm just going to go over the three main hormones that I'm going to be talking about. Serotonin, this is typically thought of as one of our, happiness hormones. It helps to regulate our mood. It also helps with digestion and our circadian rhythms. But primarily, I'm going to be talking about how it affects our happiness and our mood. Then melatonin, kind of similar to serotonin, they're somewhat related, and we typically think of it as regulating our circadian rhythms and our sleep. Some people, if they have trouble sleeping, they'll try to take, melatonin in order to help them go to bed. So that's another one we will be discussing. And then cortisol, kind of the stress hormone. That's what our body releases when we are particularly stressed out because of something either physical or mental that is taxing to us. So these are kind of the main three that I'll be talking about, specifically serotonin and cortisol, but we do have a bit of melatonin. So let's start with probably what everyone thinks of, what everyone probably associates with their favorite type of weather, sunny weather. Moving on. So sunny weather, the sunshine, obviously we have the visible sunlight and the visible light spectrum, but we also get ultraviolet light, and there are three types of ultraviolet. There's ultraviolet A, ultraviolet B, and ultraviolet C. Ultraviolet C has the shortest wavelength and the greatest frequency. Ultraviolet B is kind of in the middle, whereas then ultraviolet A has the longest wavelength and, the longest wavelength and the shortest frequency. There we go. So these are the three types. UVC is the most dangerous UV type of radiation, and thankfully that is all absorbed within the ozone layer, so that does not reach the ground. Not to say that there is no access to UVC on the ground, but typically that's man-made type things like lasers, so we don't typically get exposed to that. It's really the UVA and the UVB. UVA tends to be a bit more dominant, but we do have the UVB, and UVB is what I want to talk about because it is this that when it reacts with our skin when you go outside, when you're exposed to the sunlight, specifically UVB rays, that is what kind of signals to our body to produce vitamin D. It doesn't specifically produce vitamin D, it produces like the precursor to it, and then vitamin D is actually made in our livers. There's a whole process to it, but basically the sunlight does kind of facilitate our body's natural ability to produce vitamin D, which then does help us to produce serotonin. So if you go out into the sunshine, you take in that light and you feel happier, that is actually something chemical going on within you. And that's why we enjoy the sunshine so much. Also worth noting, UVB sunlight or rays don't go through glass windows. So if you see sunshine coming through your windows and you want to kind of feel that warmth, kind of step into that, you will be getting access to UVA rays, but not UVB, so that will not be doing anything for you with respect to that vitamin D. On the flip side, there is cloudy weather. Obviously, the clouds cover up the sunshine, kind of limiting our exposure to that sunshine that does help us to produce vitamin D. Not to say that it blocks out all of it. In fact, a lot of UVA rays specifically do get through because of their greater wavelength. But UVB, a greater percentage of that does actually get soaked up by the clouds. So especially when we have prolonged periods of cloudiness, especially in months like January and February, we're just not getting that amount of sunshine. Add in the fact that days are, I think at the solstice, our days are about 9 hours long compared to at the summer solstice when they're about 15 plus hours long. We're just not getting that exposure to daylight, so it is harder for our bodies to produce serotonin, and in fact, they'll be producing a bit more melatonin. So if you feel especially tired, if we've had a run of cloudy days, or if it's just a time of year where we don't get as much sunshine, that is actually something chemical going on within you, because your body is producing more melatonin. It's seeing less sunshine and it's thinking that you should be sleeping. Now, mild weather. Everyone kind of has their own definition as to what is mild weather. People do have their preferences and how warm they prefer for it to be. But in general, most humans agree that they like the 70s, specifically the low 70s. The range is usually around 65 to 75 that most people find comfortable, which has always kind of intrigued me, because if our bodies are 98 degrees on the inside, why do we like the 70s? Wouldn't we want to be around what our own temperature is? But apparently the low 70s specifically are in that thermal neutral zone. So when we are surrounded by air that is about, let's say, 72 degrees, our body does not have to work as hard to regulate its temperature. It's not so warm that it's forcing us to try to sweat, to try to cool off, but it's also not so cold that we're shivering. Our body is in a nice state of stasis, so there's really no added stress on our bodies. That's why we like the 70s. Our body is able to work as efficiently as possible because it doesn't have to do any additional work to try to regulate our temperatures. Humidity, though, that causes us to do a lot of work. So I'm highlighting kind of in general, maybe a dew point of 65 plus. That is when we really start to feel that humidity, that stickiness. I'm not going to get too into this because I did do a whole Beyond the Forecast on just humidity. But when the humidity is really high, when we sweat, it is harder for it to evaporate because that air is already so concentrated and full of moisture. So our bodies are working overtime to try to keep us cool because it is just very uncomfortable outside when that humidity is so high. So because it is working to try to cool us down, it is not producing as much serotonin, that happiness hormone, and it is increasing the cortisol because our body is physically stressed out. That is why you feel so fatigued and run down when it is humid. Your body is trying its best to keep you safe and cool, but the air is just not helping. Now, rainy weather. This is kind of a fun one because, yes, typically with rainier weather, you have cloudier conditions, so you would be thinking that we're getting less serotonin and people tend not to like it, but there is a lot about rainy weather that actually has a positive impact on our mood, given that if it is the right conditions and you can actually take in all the benefits that are associated with rainy weather. So rain, there are aspects of it that can help raise our serotonin and lower our cortisol, so we actually become less stressed. So there's something called the Leonard effect. So when water is crashing into itself, either with droplets or you have water hitting the surface or waves crashing or a waterfall going down, they interact with one another and they'll exchange charges. Typically, the larger particles are going to hold on to a positive charge, whereas then smaller kind of mist particles and smaller droplets of water have that negative charge. And so we kind of get negative ions in the air, and there's there we go, negative ions. And there is some competing research as to how much this does impact our mood, but there are some studies that when there is a lot of kind of negative ions within the air, that actually does help to increase our serotonin levels and kind of calm us. That's why I think about a beach where you have that crashing water, those crashing waves. People are also very soothed by waterfalls. It's kind of that similar concept, but we get it kind of just from the rain. There's also the smell of the rain. It's a very specific smell that humans are evolutionarily drawn to. Apparently, we can detect it similar to a way that a shark can detect blood in water, because we needed access, as humans were developing, to fresh water, and being able to smell rain was an indication of that. So the smell of rain is kind of called petrichor, and it can help specifically generate the activity of alpha waves in our brain. Those alpha waves are associated with relaxation, calmness, meditation, also a little bit of beta waves as well, which is more associated with, thinking and critical problem solving. But it does kind of facilitate that calmer idea within us. There's also more to rain. There's the sound of rain that also helps calm us. And so typically, you think of maybe like thunderstorms that could stress people out, and certainly it can. Memories have a good impact on how we perceive weather, if we have good or bad memories with them. But overall, there's a lot about weather to help our mood, but there's also a little bit to hurt.
That is very, very interesting. By the way, while I'm listening to you, I'm also listening to one of my favorite bands, Fish, and they have a song called Petrichor.
Wow.
And it is the most soothing sound and and that's where they got the name of the song. And it's also got a soothing smell, as you were just mentioning. All right, more on what's to come in our forecast with Beyond the Forecast when we come back. All right, so Lauren was talking about how we can affect our moods because of the weather. I just got some breaking news that may affect your mood in a good way. We just broke this story. IKEA is coming to Western New York. Lauren, are you familiar with IKEA?
I am familiar. The Swedish furniture do-it-yourself company?
Yes. Oh my gosh, and not only do they make and you help build amazing furniture, they've got the best Swedish meatballs on the planet. They're so good. They're coming to the Galleria.